Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Welcome back to Raven's Escape Crafts. Welcome, or welcome back. Whichever. Apologies for not having a video yesterday. I was, again, my voice is so bad. It takes me forever for my voice to recover from this, so I apologize. But today I wanted to show you my finish. This is a fun hood that I made. It's my husband calls it my emo unicorn hood, even though it doesn't have a it doesn't have I think I have it on the wrong way. Hold on, that's why it's wrong. Okay, I do have it on the wrong way. There we go. Okay, that's better. Oh my goodness, there we go. Okay, there we go. See, it's even got ears. I'm like, where are the ears? Oh my goodness. Okay. My husband calls it my emo unicorn hood because you have to, but it does stay if you put it back. All right, so this is my, it's like a pony hood. It has a mane that goes down, and then it has the braids on it. So, is this kind of fun? I think it's really fun. It is a little, I do have to train these to stay back a little bit, but yeah, it has a mane going all the way back, and then it has ears. See? It's super silly, but it's super fun, and I really enjoy it, and it makes me happy, so there you go. So, I apologize, like I said, we didn't have a video yesterday. And I'm not going to read the book today because with my voice the way it is, it's just not going to sound very good. So I thought we'd just look at my pony hood and chit chat, and I'll work on my project a little bit. I hope you guys don't mind. Like I said, I'm a little bit, my voice is a little bit better than it was, but I did not want to like push it too much yesterday. I tried to start a video, and I was like, and I'm like, nobody wants to listen to this. So, how cute is this? How cute is this hood? I think it's adorable. It would go, it's a fun hood you could wear for whatever. And it's actually really warm, so I love the colors. If you can see the colors. And the mane goes all the way back to the back, so I don't know if somebody gets this, they're probably gonna have to put like a beret in this or something so they keep the mane out of your face. But I think it's cute. I think it's fun. I love it. It would probably work better if I didn't have a hood on my sweatshirt. Yeah, I have my sweatshirt on again. Like I said, with the stupid menopause, if I don't have a fan on me and the air conditioner on me, I'm like dying of sweat, but then I turn them on and then I'm freezing. I don't know. It's ridiculous. So we have the sweatshirt on again today. So I am still working on my my project. This is getting really big. I will show you guys, like I said, when it's done, what it is. But because I'm still not 100% sure it's going to work out. But I thought we'd sit and chat a little bit today. See what you guys are up to. What are you guys working on? Got my furls dupe hook. And I've been working tirelessly on this. I started this on Sunday, and it's gotten really big, so we're getting there. I still got a bunch more rows to go, and then I got to put a border on it. But so what are you guys doing? What are you guys working on? It's Wednesday. It's a nice hot July sunny day here. We had a little bit of rain last night, but now it's all bright and sunny. I talked to Logan a little bit, as if you guys watched my other videos, you know, my older son is down in Orlando at a Mu Alpha Theta math competition / convention. So I talked to him a little bit last night, and they had testing all day Monday and all day yesterday. And then today they're going to Universal. So he's looking forward to that. So they were there on Sunday. But they're going back again today. So he's looking forward to re-riding some of the rides that he really liked and getting on any of them that he didn't get on and picking up some souvenirs and stuff like that. So, and then they're leaving there, and then they have to go back to the hotel where they're having dinner and I guess the first award ceremony, some sort of informal award ceremony. And then tomorrow they have testing again, and then they have a big award ceremony tomorrow night, and then he gets to come home on Friday. I'm looking forward to that. So is he. I think he's a little homesick. I don't think he wants to tell me that he's homesick. But when I talk to him, he's like, I miss you guys too. It's only 2 more full days, So I think he's ready to come home too, which I'm ready to see him. I miss my kiddo. But I'm glad he's having fun. I'm glad he's doing amazing things. I'm glad he's doing really cool things with his life. And I will never, ever, I've been trying to be really positive when I'm on the phone with him. Like, oh yeah, have fun, do your thing, do your best. He was a little nervous about the testing. And I'm like, you got this, you got it, just do your normal mathy stuff, be your mathy self. And, so I don't know. He's like, I said, how is the questions hard? Like, well, I'm sure, again, like I said, he's the only freshman, at least from his school. And we even found out, I guess technically there's a junior Mu Alpha Theta, like how there's like a junior National Honor Society kind of thing. And that technically he should be in the junior Mu Alpha Theta up until you're in 10th or 11th grade. I think 11th grade. So it's not quite as difficult. But because he's so far advanced, he had to go into the regular Mu Alpha Theta, and he couldn't do the junior Mu Alpha Theta. I'm like, well, unfortunately, kiddo, that's what happens when you're too damn smart. He is. His math brain is absolutely ridiculous. So I'm glad for that. Haven't done too much here. Just kind of been working on this project. It shows you my goofy way I crochet. I know a lot of people don't crochet like this. But I do like these dupe furls hooks. I don't own any actual furls hooks. So I don't know if they're better than this, but I don't know. I really like these. Have been working pretty good for me. Except my fingers are tired because I've been working on this one for, like I said, pretty much nonstop since Sunday. I'm on my 5th. Wait, hold on. Yeah, 5th ball of. I'm most of the way through my 5th skein of Big Twist Value. So 5 skeins in 4 days. Fingers are getting a little tired, and it's all the same stitch, so it's kind of been a lot, but that's okay. I want to get it done so I can photograph it and put it in my shop, and hopefully it turns out good. What else? I don't know. I don't have a lot. I've been watching I'm watching Russ on It's Raining Yarn, his recaps, and he's a bad influence. If you want to, he's always talking about the sales and what kind of yarn he's buying. He makes you want to, and I end up going on the sites and looking at yarn. I do have a little bit more impulse control than he does, but not as much as I'd like. He buys a lot of yarn. I do not have as much disposable income apparently as he does, so I do not buy as much as he does. But he was talking about he has like 40 skeins of the Red Heart Jumbo from Yarn Inspirations, which is like 1,800 yards. I was like, oh. Now, I mean, Red Heart's not my favorite because it's sort of scratchy to work with. But it's a good yarn. I mean, and it makes nice projects. Once you wash it, it's not bad. It's just while they're, but working on it, it's a lot scratchier than like, say, Big Twist or Premier Basics or any of those. They're a lot softer. So there's that. And then, of course, he's been knitting a lot lately. And it's giving me the bug to knit. I don't normally knit a lot because, knitting is, it takes so much longer than crocheting. I don't know if any of you are knitters, but don't get me wrong, knitting makes the most beautiful garments. And beautiful, I have 2 knit blankets that I made, and they're beautiful. They're gorgeous blankets. And I'm not any kind of professional knitter or whatsoever. And they're beautiful. They're drapier than the crochet. They don't have as many holes. I've never attempted to knit a sweater. I would like to attempt to knit a sweater at some point. But obviously, when you compare let me say, I've seen a lot in the recent years of crochet sweaters that are becoming more and more gorgeous, like compared to what I used to see some crocheted sweaters, which always were kind of, there was a lot of nice crocheted sweaters, but they didn't compare to a knit sweater. You know what I mean? Like, you'd see these crochet sweaters and you're like, oh, those are nice. And then you'd see people doing knit sweaters and you're like, oh my God. Like, they don't even compare. Like, now recently I've noticed more and more people are coming up with patterns for crochet sweaters that do look really good. Like, that you would, that you would want to wear, that look comparable, like that are nice, like really nice sweaters. Like I said, years ago, crochet sweaters were a little, but then again, there was a lot of knit sweaters that are a little, so, I guess it all depends. So, but I would love to try to knit a sweater one time. I know I learned, so there's this older lady. Let me start back. I worked with this guy when I worked at the car dealership. And he had moved in with his mom because she was in her 90s and she was, slowing down and needed some help around the house. So he had moved in with her, and the one lady I worked with at night, her and I were both crocheters and knitters and stuff. And we would always like bring yarn in and show each other what we were working on and discuss it and stuff like that. All right, hold on, let me pause. All right, there we go. So we used to bring our crochet and stuff and knit stuff in all the time to show each other. Well, one time he brought in these placemats that his mom made, and they were like different color on each side, and we were like, oh, this is kind of. I'm like, oh, well, she just makes 2 placemats and then sews them together, because I've seen people do that. And he's like, no, it's crocheted at the same time. I'm like, how on earth do you crochet like on both sides at the same time, like different colors? And he's like, oh, I don't know. He's like, I don't crochet. But she wanted me to bring him in and show you guys. And I was like, oh, that's really neat, And he's like, well, do you want to come up and have a crochet lesson with her? And of course, I was like a baby crocheter at the time. I was not like anywhere near where I'm at now. I had been crocheting for a little while, and I had made quite a few like blankets and scarves and things, but in no way did I consider myself a good crocheter. You know what I mean? Like I was okay. And so I was a little nervous, you know, knowing this woman is like in her 90s. She was heading toward 100, you know, and she'd been crocheting her whole life and knitting and stuff. So she was a little intimidating to me, but he's like, no, no, no. She said she'd love to teach you guys, you know, she'd love to do this lesson for you. Hold on. Sorry about that. So one night after work, we drove up there, over to their house, and she gave us a crochet lesson. And in the meantime, she was showing us like all the stuff she makes and all the knitting she was doing and crocheting she was doing. It was really cool. And of course, she pulled out this sweater she was making, and she's like, "Oh, I'm almost done with it. You know, I just have to do the neck and it was like a bottom up." And she had like one arm done, and she was gonna need to do the other arm, and she needed to do the neckline. And I was like, I could never knit a sweater. And she's like, "Yes, you can. It's not that hard." I'm like, you don't know my knitting skills. You don't know my knitting skills. And she's like, "Can you knit? Can you purl?" I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Then you can make a sweater." And she was making a cable sweater, which of course no, I don't know about. I mean, cables knit sweaters are beautiful, but I have looked into how you make them, and it is a lot of fussy fuzzies. You know, you have cable holders, and I don't know. I suppose if I sat and really watched a video on how to do it, I probably could do it. But do I want to do something that's that fussy? I don't know. I mean, it seems like a lot of extra steps, and I'm not, like I said, I am not as good of a knitter as I am a crocheter to begin with. I like knitting. I like the way knitting looks. I like the way things turn out. It just takes forever compared to crochet. Forever. Like, I can crochet a cotton washcloth. Okay, I can sit down and crochet a cotton washcloth in an hour or two. You know, and mine are pretty decent size. And no problem, you know, and I can keep crocheting them and crocheting them. It takes so long for me. It takes 4 or 5 hours at least for me to knit a dishcloth. And I'm not super slow at it either. I mean, I'm pretty fast anymore with knitting because I did, like I said, I made a couple blankets, which, oh my God, let me tell you, blanket knitting. I mean, like I said, the blankets turn out beautiful. I mean, both of the blankets I made are gorgeous. And I love, like, the way they're very soft. They don't have any holes in them. They're very drapey. Like, they're beautiful blankets, both of them that I made. But did they take forever? Forever. The one took me years. As the funny story is, so a number of years ago, I'm like leaning off to the side, I apologize. I went to grand jury. I got called for jury duty. Let's start there. And it was weird because we have where I live, there's a big, nice courthouse, right? And I get the jury summons, and it says that I need to go to the old courthouse, which is up the street from the new courthouse. But I didn't even know that they used the old courthouse. I thought I had been there for like on a school trip as a museum. I didn't even realize they still had court there. Like, okay. I'm like, why am I going to the old courthouse, like, for jury duty? So, of course, color me confused. So I go, you know, I got my summons, and then of course I called, and you know, normally, like, I've had it before where I didn't have to go. So, you know, and usually it's like, you know, panels, blah, 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 through blah, 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 don't have to attend, you know. Okay. Well, I call this one, and it's like everybody has to go, and it's a lot of people, like a lot of panels. I'm like, okay, the heck's going on? So, of course, I get there, and there's like 200 and plus people in this courtroom. Of course, it's the reason they had it in the old courthouse is because compared to the courtrooms in the new courthouse, which are very small, the old courthouse, the original courthouse for the town, the courtroom is humongous, and it's all still done in the old style, like, you know, marble and wooden benches, and, you know, where the judge sits way up high and then the jury sits high, you know, not as high as the judge, obviously, and the witness stands are high up. Everything's like regal and big, and there's like marble columns and, you know, balustrades and, you know, carved things everywhere. It was a really cool room. And but there's like 200 and some people there, and I'm like, what in the hell kind of case are we on? So the judge gets up and they explain, so you're here for a little bit something different. You're here for, this is not for a singular court case. We're picking the grand jury for the next year. And of course, I had heard of grand jury, but I didn't really know what they did. And I was like, oh, okay, what are we doing with that, you know? So he starts explaining, you know, that the grand jury hears all kinds of cases that the district attorneys can bring you. Basically, you're there to assist the district attorneys in figuring out whether cases should be brought to, like, whether they have enough evidence to bring cases to trial. And so it's not like in a formal court setting. It's much more casual, shall we call it. And, you know, and then of course it's different. There's more than 12 people. I think we had 26 people. Now, not all those people got to vote. I think only the first 18 or 20 of us. But they needed extra people because of the way, like, so basically for the next year, you would meet every other Friday, not every single Friday, every other Friday at the government building, not even at the courthouse. And we would meet in the grand jury room, and they would, like I said, the district attorneys could bring us cases, witnesses, all kinds of things, and we could help them not only figure out whether they had enough evidence, but help them gain evidence. So, like, if they brought us a case, like, for example, one of the cases was okay, so basically this 5-year-old child was unalived. I'm going to say that for YouTube references. And they were trying to figure out whether or not they had enough evidence to take the person who was in charge of the 5-year-old at the time to court for manslaughter or murder or what, you know. So, like, so that was that was probably the most disturbing case that we did. And so, of course, we got to talk to the coroner who did the autopsy. We got to see all the autopsy photos. She showed us, you know, everything. She testified in front of us. We had the police officer who was first on the scene came in, and he told us what he found. That was upsetting, let me tell you. He was crying like a baby. I mean, that was tough. That was tough, watching this big, strong police officer sit in and again, like I said, it wasn't like a courtroom. We just had a conference room. So it was sort of an intimate setting. And, you know, the district attorney would ask him questions. And when she asked him to tell us about what he found that day when he got that call, this big burly policeman is sitting up there bawling his eyes out, crying and crying, saying, telling us exactly what he found, and how he tried to give CPR, and how the kid already was cold, and that was disturbing. That one will live with me for the rest of my life. But this is how, it worked. So then we had to talk to him, we got to talk to the coroner, we got to talk to the and then of course after that the police officer, and then of course they brought in the boyfriend of, well, it was the father of the child. He was not the one who was there when this happened. The child drowned in the tub, and he was not home at the time, but he was the father of the child, and it was his girlfriend or fiance or whatever she was at the time, who was home, and she was pregnant. And so then we got to talk to him, who that was sort of beyond disturbing as well, because I don't know. And I mean, the reason it was beyond disturbing was because it was his son that passed, his son that was gone, and he didn't have any real emotion toward the fact that he lost his son, like, you would have thought as a father that he would have been devastated by the entire situation. And instead, he was more concerned about defending his girlfriend, that she didn't do anything wrong, and then they even showed him the autopsy photos, which were very disturbing. I mean, I'm not, I watch medical shows. I like, obviously I'm a middle-aged white woman. I've watched Snapped and listened to watched a million documentaries on this stuff, and like true crime and things like that. So, it's not like this is my first rodeo. Obviously I've been watching, I started watching Snapped years ago, and I used to love watching what's it was called, the one with the unsolved mysteries and things like that. So I mean, I've seen and I watched like a billion documentaries. So like, I've seen crime scene photos, I've seen autopsy photos, I've seen but of course it's more disturbing when it's like somebody in your area and stuff like that. And, we were shown very graphic autopsy photos. And so they even tried at one point to show him the autopsy photos, which to prove to him that, because there was fingerprints on the kid. The kid, supposedly, their story was, he was 5 years old, went and took a bath, and must have fallen and hit his head and drowned in the tub. But the autopsy revealed that there was fingerprints on his head. Bruises. So, since he was in such denial of what happened, the DA decided to show him autopsy photos of his son. Now, when she pulled those out, I was like, oh my God, no parent should have to see that. That's... I was beyond like, wow. I mean, like, my mother lost a child as a stillbirth before she had me. And to this day, I mean, that was well over 50 years ago. You can't bring up my sister, you know what I mean? Like, she still can't handle it. And then this was a 5-year-old. So, I mean, my mom never even got to meet Stacy. You know, Stacy was born not with us. And so I was like, oh my God, they're going to show this father who just lost his son like 6 months ago autopsy photos. Like, I was ready for him to like absolutely lose it, you know? And instead he's like, oh, you know, he's looking at these pictures like, oh, look, it's my boy. I'm like, it's the inside of his scalp. I mean, oh, that whole, I mean, well, we'll get to that. So that's kind of how it worked. So then, of course, we got to talk to him, and then, of course, that didn't go too well. But we did get more evidence for the DAs, and they wouldn't have really been able to question him other than because of us that we requested it, you know, and then of course then they brought in the woman that they thought was doing it. And we got to question her. And it was really cool because, like, you know, we really got this, like, very hands-on, like I said, we were sitting from you to me, you know, away from these people. And we're just sitting around a U-shaped conference table, and they're at the top, you know. And, you know what I mean? Like, it was really fascinating. And then, like, they would take they would have the witnesses come in and they would ask them questions, and then they would have the witnesses go out, and then we could give the DA any questions we had. So we got to ask the questions of the witnesses too. So we were very, very involved in it. And then of course if they presented enough evidence, then we got to vote on whether there was enough evidence for them to take it to trial. You know, which, I mean, was sort of, the DAs kind of knew whether they did or didn't, you know what I mean? But we could also, of course, subpoena people. So, like, if there was a case and, like, we started questioning somebody and they mentioned other people, like we did a few murders, and when we were doing theirs, you know, they would mention like we had one, there was a shooting, and they had, well, it was, let's put it this way, it was very much, it was gang related or drug related of some sort. They knew this from the get-go. So, of course, like, we started questioning, like, the people that lived in the neighborhood, which, of course, a lot of these people didn't see anything, you know. But then a name would come up. Like, well, I did see, you know, whatever, like, and, of course, these were all, like, gang names, like, you know, like Master T, you know. And then, of course, so then once that person's name was brought up, we could subpoena them. And, of course, you know, they knew who a lot of these gang members were, the DA's office, like their real names and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So then we could question, like, then we could bring in, like, say, Master T, and they could come in, and then they'd be like, you know, and that person might mention, like, well, I saw, like, Sherry, you know. So then we get, like, well, what's Sherry's last name, where she live, and then we could subpoena Sherry, you know, and work our way down the line, which, again, was nice for the DA's office because they can't really do that stuff, you know, or if they do, like, they can only ask people to come in. They can't subpoena people to come in, where we could subpoena people to come in, meaning they have to come in. And then, of course, we could also easily, anybody who we needed to get out of the jail to come over, which we did a lot, could, you know, with the subpoena, they had to come over. Of course, they're in jail, so they didn't really have a choice. So then they would just have us, like, come in, and then the guards, of course, would come in. And that was a little intimidating as well. You know, you have, oh, you gotta love, like, you're sitting there, and again, like, these guys were Like, we had one guy who was, shackled to heck. He had shackles on his wrists and his legs and his belt, and, and then, like, these 5 guys come in with freaking guns and, with shotguns and rifles, and, they're like, and they're like, oh, he's serving 10 to 20, or 20 to 25 to life for murder. You're like, oh my God. And like I said, he's sitting like from me to you. You're like, oh. So it was really interesting. I don't know why I started telling you that story. It was really, okay. So what I have to say about jury duty was, grand jury duty, I enjoyed it tremendously. I mean, I learned so much. I met some really cool people. We had such fun, like, at lunches and things like that. And it, something like that brings people together. And I met some of the most amazing people. We had some really interesting conversations. I met the DAs. The judge was really cool that we dealt with, appreciating all we did for them. And the reason they called 200 people in at the beginning is because they knew they only needed like 20, like I said, like 26 or 28 of us. But they know as soon as they say this is an every other Friday commitment, this is, blah, 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 that a lot of these people are going to have an excuse that they can't do it. And, they said, obviously, like, there's a good amount of people that, like, have jobs and stuff that won't let them do it, even though that's against the law. So, and in fact, my job gave me all kind of hell. That's a whole nother story altogether. But they, this phone's ringing. I apologize. I'm not answering it. So, but they, like, they knew that, and then a lot of people just they don't want that kind of commitment. And they were saying, they could try to force you to do it, but they know that people aren't going to, they're going to make excuse after excuse as to why they don't want to do it. So, yeah, so they, sorry, this freaking phone is answering machine's going off. It's distracting me. So they made sure, like, they have enough people that, the people that say they can't do it can get out of it. My job initially said that they were okay with it, and then all of a sudden, halfway through, they got lawyers involved, and so they didn't have to pay me for it. I'm like, whatever. This was more than they bargained for, that this was never supposed to be part of the jury duty thing in the handbook, and blah, blah. And I was like, whatever. But you can't fire me for it, and I'm still going to go. So, and they were like, well, no, you can't go. And I'm like, yeah. So, yeah, they were like, oh, you're going to have to stop going. I'm like, it's not that kind of thing. Like, I can't just stop going. And they were like, well, the lawyer says, and I'm like, okay. So I called up the DA who was in charge of our grand jury, and she's like, oh, no problem. I'll have the judge give them a call. So, yeah. So their lawyer told them that I didn't have to go anymore if I told them I didn't need to go. And then I called the district attorney, and she had the judge not only call them and tell them that, yes, I did need to go, and that I signed up for it, and this was not an option, but that then he sent them a letter saying that if they decided to give me any kind of crap about it, that he would gladly have people pursue legal action against them for it. So that was fun. That was hilarious, to be honest with you, because I was pissed, and they were pissed too when the judge decided to, and then of course they were like, well, we'll show this letter to the lawyer. I'm like, oh, good luck with that. And the lawyer right away was like, yeah, no, you can't mess with that. I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought. So, That was the thing. But I never regretted doing it because, like I said, I made a lot of really cool friends. I learned a lot of really good stuff. I felt like I did my part in the community, helping out and doing things, and, you know, potentially put some bad people behind bars, which I did for sure. There was a few cases that we, including the one with the girl and the 5-year-old, she did end up going to jail for, it wasn't as long as I would have liked, but she did get 10 to 15 years for that. So, you know, it was worthwhile. So, I mean, she had never been arrested for anything before, so they lowered her sentence, whatever. But, you know, it was really cool. And I don't remember why I started telling you about grand jury. I know I was talking about knitting. Oh, my goodness. I went on a tangent. I went on a rant. So the funny part is, an hour later, so at that time I was just getting into, when I first started going to jury duty, I was always kind of a loner type person, and I always have a little trouble making friends right away. So we would have these long lunches sometimes, and in the beginning I was like, ugh, you know, it was one of those things where we were in town, in town, and you had to park 2 blocks away at this parking garage, and I didn't really want to deal with walking all the way over there, taking my car, going somewhere, you know, even though it was a 2-hour lunch, till you get in your car, till you drive out of the parking garage, till you go through city traffic, you know. So, of course, I was, the first couple times, the first time I think I went out with some of the other people, but then the second time I was like, you know, I'm just going to go out to lunch by myself. I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm the kind of person that, that's okay. I don't really need somebody to go out to lunch with, so I went out to lunch, and I went into one of the restaurants and bought lunch and sat and had my lunch, and then I still, of course, had an hour and a half to kill, so I was like, well, I might as well walk around town. I didn't really go downtown that often, you know. I hadn't been downtown just to walk around in years. I mean, I've gone downtown to go to things, to the stadium or whatever, but never, not the stadium, the arena, or whatever it's called, PBL Center. But I hadn't just gone down to downtown to walk around in a long time. So I thought, well, I got all this time to kill, might as well take a nice walk. So I started walking up and down the main street there, and I came upon a yarn store, and I was like, oh, that's cool. So, and of course I went in there, and it was this old-fashioned yarn store where it's they had baskets of yarn all over the place, and some nicer yarn, and some different kind of acrylics and stuff like that. And they were very much, of course, a lot of the little yarn stores, they were very much more attuned to knitting and stuff like that. But that was okay, because I was a knitter at the time too, you know. I mean, I was doing quite a bit of knitting. So I popped into there, and I was like, oh, yarn store. And so I went in, and and then of course right away it was the kind of place where as soon as you walked in, oh, can I help you with something? And you're like, oh, I don't know. You know, I never came in here before. And the lady was like, well, what do you do? What would you like to do? And I told her, and she's like, okay. And so she took me back to the area where they had the more value acrylic kind of yarn. And she's like, here's your colors and stuff like that. And so, of course, I still had an hour to kill for my lunch. So I thought, well, what the heck? So I bought enough yarn to make a blanket. And then I bought some knitting needles because, of course, I didn't have any on me. And so I went and I bought that, and then I walked back to the government center where we met, and like I said, I still had like 45 minutes of my lunch. So I parked my butt on one of the outside benches and grabbed my knitting or my needles and started on a blanket, and got it all cast on and stuff before we started back up. And so that was my first blanket I ever knit. That's how I ended up with the yarn for it. Sorry about the long rant. I'm always proud of my time I did on jury duty. I thought it was really fun. I encourage anybody who I don't know if it's like around here, but we had just a blast doing jury duty. I know that sounds weird, but I got to know some really cool people that I still am in contact with all these years later. 18 years later, 19 years later. It just absolutely love doing it. I love being a part of something. I love learning and meeting people, and it was cool. It was really interesting. So that is how I got the yarn to knit my very first blanket. And that blanket took me years to knit because, oh my God, I would sit and like knit on it and 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 knit on it for what felt like hours, and I'd be like this far. And I'm like, oh my God. So I put it away and I get it back out. I'm not usually that type of person. I'm usually a start it and a finish it kind of gal. So, all right. So I guess we chit-chatted enough. I'm going to let you guys go. And then I will finish working on my project here. See where I get to tonight on it. Thank you guys for watching or listening. I really appreciate it. I hope you were working on a project with me or doing something fun while you were listening to me rant and rave about life and self. And I'm sorry that knitting story it ended up being a dirty story, but so I hope you all have a wonderful Wednesday. I appreciate each and every one of you, and choose love every day. Bye, guys.